Hey everyone, so this is a makeshift one because I've had to do it on my mobile rather than my laptop, so I'm just going to see if I can get the other people on board. So bear with me 1 second. Okay, so hopefully you are with me on this. I'm so sorry. I've got all the equipment and everything on my laptop. Oh, great, thank you. So I'll shut that down. And yeah, decided that it just it wouldn't load. You have to stream through a separate thing, whereas on my phone I can just stream direct. So actually it works out better. But there you go. So I apologise for the farting about with it. So tonight is all about surviving the holidays, because you know what, let's be honest, kids are stressful anyway, and the holidays are pretty stressful even when you've got them. But when you haven't got them, it's awful, and vast landscape of time ahead of you, that you miss them, that you want to be around them, that you're wondering what they're doing. If your ex is plastering pictures all over social media of the great time that they're having, it's all designed to hurt you. And so I thought I'd do a live Q&A around, how do you survive that? How do you survive either not having them or having them half and half, or however much time you get with them over the summer holidays, knowing full well that narcissist is going to take every opportunity to mess you around. It might be that they are late dropping them off, knowing that you've got to be there by a certain time. It may be that they don't give you their passport, or they won't give you the details of where they're going to. Whatever it is, they like to make you jump through a billion hoops just so they can maintain that control over you. And that's exhausting. And so hence why I would do this, because it's just a really hard time. Christmas, birthdays, holidays, they're the times when the narcissist goes to town, because they just like to be the centre of attention. In holidays, they're not, because, you know, you've got kids running around trying to keep them entertained, trying not to break the bank or having to go bankrupt or commit a bank robbery in order to pay for it all. And they thrive, they revel in creating the drama that they can around this time of year. And so I wanted to create a platform or an environment where we can talk about it, where you can ask any questions, we can discuss it, I can share things that I think work, but it's just a general opportunity for you guys to ask any questions and to get any feedback. So starting off, depending on where you are coming from. So I know on my Facebook page, someone asked the questions around court orders. When you've got a court order in place, let's face it, it's not really worth the paper it's written on a lot of the time, because narcissists basically think they're above the law, or they know best, so they'll interpret it in certain ways, or they just like to prove that they're invincible and that the rules don't apply to them. So you might have a court order in place that states X, Y, and Z. Well, they will enforce that on you. You have to do X, Y, and Z, and if you try and take a slight bit, no contact, solid boundaries, barely surviving. Okay. And so they, I've lost my train of thought now. So yeah, they will expect you to do X, Y, and Z, but they won't do X, Y, and Z. They will manipulate it. They will take an extra day or an extra hour or however long, and they'll just think they can get away with it. And unfortunately, whatever country you're in, here in the UK, it happens quite a lot, is that they get away with it. There's no consequences to breaching orders. And so it can be really hard to manage that. So no contact, you mentioned. Are you going no contact now? Are you currently no contact, or are you wanting to go no contact over the summer holidays? And is the narcissist unhappy with that? Are there children involved? Give me a bit more context, and we can talk about that a little bit more. In terms of going no contact, it's like any drug addiction. We know that cutting it out completely ultimately is the best way to do it. The circumstances where that isn't possible, where you have children, maybe where you work together, where you share a home still, where you are going through divorce, it is impossible to go no contact completely. So the next best thing to that is low contact, which is essentially either communicating through third party, which is the ideal. If you've got a friend or a family member that will do that for you, a solicitor, or an intermediary or mediator who gets it, by the way, not someone who doesn't get it, because some of the mediators don't get it and they're not very helpful. And grey rock, which is essentially being as interesting as a grey rock. So any interactions you have to have, you don't feed their supply. So no emotion, no information, just the bare minimum. Because like I said earlier, they love the drama. They love to know. I'm sorry, I've got 3 kittens and they're in play mode. And so if things keep moving, it's because they're running into stuff. So I'll just caveat for you that the kittens are in play mode. They are very cute, but equally rather annoying when you're trying to do something like this. So yeah, no contact where you can, because when you're trying to get over something like a narcissist or a drug, they will lure you back in, and that constant reminder and those highs and lows, the receptor parts of your brain that are initiated when people take heroin, are exactly the same ones that are initiated in narcissistic abuse. It is literally an addiction. So yes, absolutely. When you initiate contact, the narc ramps it up because they hate to be ignored. Okay. Right, this is getting complicated because someone has just messaged me to say that they can't comment, but they are watching. So I'm going to have to try and figure out how I can speak to her as well. So, but yes, they will absolutely ramp it up because, one, how dare you dictate what goes on? That's never been the roles in your relationship. And they've manipulated so that the roles were very clear, that they were in control. They said and did exactly what they wanted and you just went along with it. So how dare you suddenly decide that you are not going to do that? They've been conditioned as part of the same process as you, that you do those things. So when you don't do it, they have a physical reaction to that, which is, hang on, this feels very uncomfortable. I'm used to everything going a certain way. And so they ramp it up because they need that contact. They need you, and they don't like what you've just done. They don't like you standing up for yourself. They don't like you having any control back, because they believe that takes away their control and it sends them into a blind panic. And so they will try love bombing you or smear campaigning you, one of the two, depending on where you're at. If you've pretty much given them a very clear message, there ain't no going back, this door is closed, the smear campaign will begin, and they will start talking trash to you, to anyone that they can, involving everyone that they can, triangulating anyone at all. Okay, let me just get my laptop so that I can open the messenger so that I can read this lady's. Just be a second. And it started to absolutely pee it down here as well, so reception might go a bit touchy. Oh, it's a good evening, isn't it? Okay. So yeah, but the thing about no contact is, yeah, it's worse to start off with, and there are side effects to it. There are, like I say, they'll either start with a love bombing, or they will and try hoovering you back into the relationship, or certainly into conversation with it's an emergency, or accidentally texting you and then going, oh, I'm sorry, that was meant for another person, or I heard this, is it true? You know, those kind of lame texts that are just designed to bait you. Essentially, they're just trying to hook you back in. And the other one is obviously the smear campaign, so they will trash you, because the narcissist can't accept any responsibility for any fault on their part. So no matter what the reason for the breakup was, guaranteed to everyone they are telling it was your fault, and you go silent on them, although it's for absolutely valid reasons, and you have every right to do that, they will be telling everyone how abusive you are, that, oh my God, she's just ended it, or he's just ended it, and now he won't talk to me, or now she won't talk to me, and it's just, this is just typical of them. You know that this is what they do. And obviously when you've got kids, wow, this is even harder, because it's that you have to have communication with them, whether you like it or not. And everything will always be your fault. Everything is everyone else's fault except theirs. That's just the way it is. There's no getting around that. I'm just trying to log on, Mel, so that I can read your message, because I'm scared to press it on my screen here, that it might take me out, and we've been messed about so much tonight. So I will get to you. Can you hear the kittens? So the best way to deal with that smear campaign and the heightened behaviour is to stand your ground. They want you to back down, because they know that if you back down this time, they've got you on the ropes, and they basically will walk all over you forever. So as hard as it is, you have to stand your ground. You've made a decision that's in yourself what the truth is, and be content with knowing what the truth is for you. And now my bloody laptop isn't. Oh, this is a good night tonight. It's going really well. Now the laptop won't bloody well come up. I'm not going to give up. My computer's being a narcissist tonight, and it is bullying me. So, yeah, you want to... Part of you is thinking, for an easy life, just do this. Or if they're smear campaigning you, you want to protest your innocence. You want to go out there and say, well, actually, this is the truth of what happens. But what you've got to remember is that the narc has already handed out the script to everyone else. They've already told everyone exactly what you're going to come back with. And they're going to use it as evidence to prove that the narcissist was right. So whatever you say, the narcissist has pre-prepared everyone for it. So they, for example, they would go, do you know what? I know what they'll do. They'll try and get hold of you, and they'll tell you that I was the abusive one. I mean, really, that I just know that that's what they're going to do. So then when you come along and say the truth, that person's going, oh, they said they'd do that. They said they'd do that. They said they were abusive. And this is what they've done. They've pre-paved the information that's going to get out there. So it's kind of pointless. There is no point. The only people who matter are the ones that love you and believe you regardless, and are on your side regardless, because let's face it, we do all make mistakes. None of us are perfect. The difference between the majority of us and narcissists is that we're okay to admit that. It's not always easy. It's not always easy to admit you've made a mistake, and it's certainly not always easy to be criticised, but you know what? We handle it because we're adults, and we accept that, yeah, we do make mistakes, and we want to grow. So if we make a mistake, we kind of want to know that we've got something to learn from it. Whereas the narcissist will take every criticism as being this narcissistic injury and this huge big deal. Right, if this goes wrong, I apologise. Hopefully this will still work. I'm just going to try and read Mel's messages. So, Okay, so the question is, advice to deal with a narc taking longer than court-ordered holiday time, and legal advice is to allow it as a judge would anyway. And the child saying that they have nothing to say whilst they're on holiday when the non-narc calls. Okay, so first one. It is really difficult, actually. It's incredibly difficult because, as I said earlier, you are in a system that is scaredy cat. They're terrified of rocking the boat too much for the child, and they just don't see how that kind of behavior is abusive, even though clearly it's controlling. There's a court order in place and they're taking longer, so therefore it's not difficult to reach the conclusion that they think that they're better than the court order, which is ultimately that sense of grandiose self and being very self-important and abusive. Unfortunately, as I just explained, there's a narrative that has been that has been put out there. And I know in your case, this is exactly what has happened. This narrative has been created that you are the problem, that you are the one who is trying to stop him seeing his child. And so, no matter what you do, even if you are literally trying to stick to the court order, they've got in their head, she's the problem. Why is she making a big deal out of this? They can't see the facts from the narrative, because the narcissist is a brilliant, it's kind of like, it feels like, have you ever seen Stardust, the film, where they put a spell, so no matter what they hear or what they see, they can't hear and see the real truth. That's how it kind of feels like, that someone's gone on everyone around them, sprinkled them with this magic dust, and so everything the narcissist says, they just go, yes, that's right. And everything you say, no, we don't believe that. In the truth, we can't even see it. See no evil, hear no evil, that kind of thing. They just can't see it. And so in terms of what do you do about it, I guess you kind of have to make peace with it. And I know that isn't the answer that you want to hear. I know that isn't the answer you want to hear, but I know your case well enough to know if you go back to court, you're in that predicament, and he knows that, and he's loving the fact that you are annoyed by this. So stop being annoyed by it. And that sounds harsh, but actually, they want your drama, they want your emotion, they want to know that they're annoying you. So don't be annoyed, or at least don't show them that you're annoyed. And as hard as that is, it's kind of the strongest thing you've got. Because like I said, if you go back to court, you've already been told what's going to happen. So he wins. And that's what he's doing. He's doing everything he can to push you to go back into court, knowing full well that the narrative he's created is very strong, and that he will get the outcome that he wants, which is to destroy that relationship that you have. So you play the game. You go back to court. You're in his hands. So you kind of just have to go with it. And for me, when I was in it, you want that control, because they take so much of it that it's a battle for control, and you kind of get caught up in that battle, and you feel like you have to win, or you have to have this result, and you get so caught up with what you should have, or what you think you should have, or what's right, that you lose sight of yourself and your own happiness. And ultimately, the biggest thing that you can do is to be happy. Because the narcissist wants the exact opposite of that. The narcissist wants you to be miserable. They want you to be crying every night. They want you to be contemplating, what the hell am I supposed to do? Should I go back to court? They want you to be spending your money speaking to a solicitor. This is all that they want, because they want to destroy you. And so, like I say, you have a choice. You play the game, knowing full well you may well lose, because he's created such a strong narrative in your court arena, and they don't see it yet. And I can't make them see it. I can't ring them at home and say, do you not see what you are doing? Do you not see the reality of this? That's not plausible. You have to find peace with what's going on. And I know that you have faith in terms of you are religious. This is the time that you need it the most. This is the time when you put your trust in whoever you believe in, and you say, this is what I want to happen. I'm putting it over to you. You sort this out. I'm going to hand this over to you. This is what faith is. You're putting your faith in someone or something else doing the right thing and sorting it all out for you, and everything being okay in the end. You have to lean on that. You have to believe in that. And if you don't believe in that, then you're constantly going to be fighting on every level, every day, every holiday, every little thing. Every time your child goes, you're going to be having that battle. But when you have faith that something's going to work out, and I'm not talking about religion personally, but I have faith that things work out. I have faith in me. I have faith in happiness, and I have faith in love. And so when those difficult things occur, that's my fallback. And you may want a practical response. You may want me to give you a magic answer, or say this to the judge, or say that to the judge, or quote this or quote that. And I don't have that. I don't have that. That doesn't exist, because you're dealing with highly manipulative people, and you're dealing with in an arena that doesn't recognize what you're dealing with. So you're fighting a monster, but no one sees them as a monster. They see them as the angel. So every time you call them out, they're like, how can you say that about them? Which obviously makes it really difficult. In terms of when she calls, again, you know the pressure that she's under. You know that you know what he's doing. You know the manipulation that is going on. All you can do is say to her, that's absolutely fine. That's fine if you have nothing to say. It's lovely to hear your voice. It's just so nice to hear your voice. It doesn't matter if you have nothing to tell me. That's okay. I'm just really pleased to feel that you're having a good time. I'm really pleased to hear your voice. It's lovely. Have a wonderful time, and I'll see you when you get back. You just have to take that off her. It's not her responsibility. You know what she's going through. Oh, I'm glad that resonates with you, Mel. Oh God, I've got a million things. At all, in my opinion, is faith in yourself. Faith in yourself that you're doing the right thing, that you're healing yourself, that you are taking care of yourself, that you are taking responsibility for anything that you might have done, because we do get pushed to do stupid things. We get pushed to do things that are out of our character, and we take responsibility for that, and then we heal them. And this is what the narcissist can't cope with. The narcissist wants you to stay the you that they were able to abuse. So you have a choice. Do you stay there? Do you stay in that place where they want you to be, because they know they can abuse you there, because they've done it for however long? Or do you heal? Do you recover? Do you believe in yourself and whatever else you believe in? Do you change yourself and whatever else you believe in? Do you change? Do you change in here? Because change in here affects I'm doing it down here in my belly and you can't see that. Change in you impacts your entire world around you. And when you have that belief and that solid base within you, amazing things can happen. Keep focused on what you want. Keep focused on what it is you want to achieve. The bigger picture. Think about that every day. Don't think about the current situation, or don't think about the lack of what you want. Think about what you really, really, really want. How you want it to be. What it'd be like if handovers were really easy. Bailey, no, it's the cats again. What would it be like if handover was really easy? What would it be like if everything was as per the court order? What would it be like if the children grew up knowing exactly who they were? They had really solid sense of self, so they could make decisions that were right for them, whatever that might be, but they were solid in who they were. They knew it. You didn't need to do anything. But what would life look like if all of those things were true? And stay there as long as you can, because that feels better for starters. It feels much nicer to be thinking about that and how great life could be. But also, I believe that we can create whatever we desire. I believe that we have so much power when we focus on what we want rather than what we don't want. And when you are conscious of what you're doing and what your behaviors are and what you are thinking about, then you can change your life, you can change your kids' life. But it all starts with that acceptance of who you are, acceptance of the fact that you do need to change. None of us are perfect at any point in our life. We are all a work in progress. There's always things we can do to improve ourselves. And when you've been in an abusive relationship, I guarantee you've caught bad habits. It's impossible not to. You might be angrier than you used to be. You might be more suspicious than you used to be. You might be more hypersensitive than you used to be. These are all the habits that people get from being in an abusive relationship, particularly a narcissistic abusive relationship, because it goes to you on every single level. You don't trust yourself at all. You don't really know who you are. You're not quite sure what makes you happy. You're not quite sure what you enjoy. And so that all needs to change. And that's not a criticism. That's an opportunity. That's an acknowledgement that I have way more power than I'm prepared to give away anymore. And for me, that's one of the biggest things about surviving, whether it be the holidays, which, like I say, is an intense period of time because they love to ruin big events, whether that be Christmas or birthdays or Father's Day or Mother's Day or holidays. They love ruining them because it's a grand stage for them and they have to be the center of attention. And so it is a really intense time, which is why I decided to do this Q&A tonight, because I gathered that, well, I know that lots of people will be struggling. And so being able to notice those things, being able to really get a grip over those periods, whether it be those intense periods or just day-to-day life with a narcissistic ex or a narcissistic parent or a narcissistic sibling, being able to cope with the day-to-day stuff will make your life a million times easier. So I'm going to start right at the bottom, sort of right at that pain point. So you're just coming to terms with what's happened. You may have just ended the relationship, or you may be going no contact. Like I say, it could be with a parent, it could be with an ex, it could be with a sibling, it could be with whoever. And you're in shock and you can't quite get your head around what's happened, but you're gaining an understanding of they're narcissists. You're watching videos, you're reading blogs, you're maybe in groups or following people on social media. So you're building up a bit of an understanding of who they are. So you know that they're selfish, you know that they're controlling, you know that they, you know the main way that they work, you know, the love bombing, the projecting, the gaslighting, the hoovering, the discard, the devalue. You're starting to understand those behaviors a little bit more. But it's not really changing anything in you. You're thinking, phew, yes, it wasn't just me. This is who they were. I'm not to blame. Yes, I may have made a mistake. You might have done something. I'm sure at some point you would have done something, because it'd be impossible not to, living in a pressure cooker. But they would have used that. They would have milked that to make sure that you felt like everything was your fault. So reading all of this at least makes you go, oh my God, thank God, there's a name for it. They are this, there's people out there that get it. That's great. And that validation is really important at the start, because you've been made to feel like you can't trust what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're seeing. You can't trust any of that. So when you come out and you start reading that other people have had this experience, you start reading some of your symptoms, you start to see that this is just who they were, and this is a long-term mental health condition, you can start to trust yourself a little bit more, that actually I wasn't crazy. That did happen, and that happened, and that happened, and that happened, and this tells me that I'm not. So that's really good, because that's like the first step, is putting your feet back on the ground, putting your feet back in reality, that, you know, it's been distorted for so long. So that education, that information is like your grounding of, okay, this is the truth. I can start to see the truth with this fresh pair of eyes. So that's kind of probably where you're at now. If you're watching this, you're maybe in that stage where you understand a little bit more. We all make mistakes, you know. If it was easy as a red and a blue pill, and it was obvious that actually down that road they're going to be a shitbag and you're going to be hurt and it's going to be painful, down that road you're going to be free and you're not going to have any of that, it would be a no-brainer. People wouldn't get abused if it was that simple, but it's not, because they come in knight in shining armor, or the female version that is everything you wanted, whether you want to be taken care of or whether you want to take care of them. That's who they present as. They match exactly what you are wanting, because they've studied you. They've picked up on all the subtle clues that you've been putting out in those first interactions of what you're looking for. And they just present that to you, and you want it so badly, and they present it so brilliantly. And of course you go for it. Of course you fall for it, because you want it and they're good at it. So you don't even think. And even when you do feel a red flag, you're a good person. And so you believe that, you know what, I must be wrong, or they're just angry, or I know they've had a hard life, so I'll just put it to one side. They're great. I remember this. They do that. We have a great, all that. You make lots of excuses for it. And that's why they chose you, because they knew that you'd give them a lot of rope. But equally, you stay that person. Be the person that sees the best in people. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a good quality to have. So, but when you see those red flags, you know, for me, it's not about thinking the worst in everyone. Far from it. Continue to think the best in people. Put yourself first, always. And listen to your gut more, and you don't have to be rude, you don't have to be nasty about it, but you can be, does this situation make me feel good, or does it make me feel bad? Situation make me feel bad, not interested in. Situation make me feel good, I'm going to go. And really get in touch with that. And that can be hard, and that's the important part of healing. Is a lot of people I work with, they don't even know that they struggle to feel, because of PTSD, their nervous system is numbed down. They don't really know happy from sad. They do feel a little bit numb. And so it can be hard to see the red flags again, and hard to know what makes them happy and what makes them sad, because actually they've kind of lost touch. They're not really, they've kind of separated from their bodily experience. So their gut might be going, wah, 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 this is a bad situation, but they're kind of not even hearing it, or not able to connect with it properly. So they just carry on. And that's why a lot of people end up back in these kind of relationships, is because there's that disconnect between what they're feeling and what they're experiencing and the reality of it, because they are numbed to the truth. So part of the work that I do with a lot of people is getting back in touch with your feelings, starting to recognize, well, what does feel good? And what does good feel like? Where does it feel? Does it feel in your belly? Does it feel a tingle? Does a smile appear on your face? Do your shoulders? What does it feel like to feel confident? All of these things is part of the work that I do, because you want to. Your body has an amazing guidance system. You know when you meet a wrong un, your belly or wherever sends you a little warning sign. You choose to ignore it a lot, because actually we're not, in our society particularly, we're not encouraged to listen to our gut instincts. We're not encouraged to listen to these kind of extrasensory skills that we have. We are taught to deal with facts. And so when we're presented with facts versus gut instinct, we tend to go with the fact. And so, like I say, part of my work is actually getting back in touch with, what do you feel? Where do you feel it? Whereabouts is that in your body? Where are you feeling it? And doing the emotion wheel and looking at all of those different emotions, because that's what's going to protect you moving forward. Sort of down the line, you're going to want to know, does this situation make me feel good, or does it make me feel bad? And then you can make choices on that. But like I say, when you've just come out, you are so out of tune with your body, because of your nervous system is numb. It's pumped full of cortisol. It sees everything as either a threat, or you either fight, flight, freeze, or flop. Because you've been in that situation, you've been in that highly stressful situation, and so your body isn't equipped to deal with that. And also part of your brain is down in survival mode. Your emotional parts of your brain are shut down quite a lot. So it's it's that getting back in touch with your emotions is again another stage of that recovery. So in terms of sort of surviving the holidays, it's getting in touch, because there'll be warning signs that go off for you, and it's where you feel them. Is it a head feeling, which will be based on past patterns, or is it a gut feeling, which will be based on truth and fact and energy? And that's what you want to be listening to, because a lot of us, we end up in our head. So we see everything as a threat, and it's because of our thought processes that we see things as a threat, or we see things in a certain way because of our neurological structure due to these situations. And that can lead us astray, because actually that can be unfair. It can just be a pattern repeating itself, and it might not actually be the truth of the situation. We can create it if we keep thinking about it, but actually it might be that that's not what was going on, but because we had the thought and we confused it with our intuition or our instincts, we may judge people too harshly, or we may end a relationship too early because we're not quite sure whether it was our head or our instinct or our intuition. So again, that's more the work, is to understand the difference between that, understand the difference between the patterning that we've created through the thought processes and our experiences from childhood and into this relationship and out of this relationship, and our instinct that's always been there and is always the same and is not impacted by any of those things. Our instinct is always focused on the truth in terms of an energetic level. It's not interested in morality or anything like that. It's just, does it match us? Does it match us? And so again, moving forward with the healing process, it's moving on to that and looking at what is my instinct? How do I get my instinct back? How do I learn to trust myself? how do I get the faith back in me, for starters? How do I learn to trust me, my decisions? Because then I can, until I trust me, I won't trust anyone around me. Because if you can't trust yourself, you're probably going to make bad choices. Or you certainly think you're going to make bad choices. But when you start to trust yourself and you really believe that you are in tune with yourself, you know what's your instinct and what's your intuition, then you can make calls a lot better based on that feeling, as opposed to the old patterning. And a lot of this comes from that self-love kind of thing as well. When you like yourself and you respect yourself and you believe in yourself and you want the best for yourself, number one, you won't attract narcissists back in your life, because they're not interested in someone who loves themselves. They're the only person that can love themselves. And I put it in inverted because that's not the truth. That's what they put out there. They pretend that they come across as being that they love themselves, but they're not. They're just self-centered and egotistical, which actually is incredibly different to self-love. So learning to self-love yourself is going to be another part that will really help you in recovery. Because like I say, they don't want that. They don't want to be around people like that, because they can't feed off of them. When you love yourself, you're not interested in drama. You want a nice, calm, peaceful life full of happiness and love and joy. And narcissists isn't interested in that. Narcissists isn't interested in calmness and peacefulness. It loves drama. It thrives on it because it's addicted. The narcissist is addicted to the cortisol as well. That they have the same. They need that. They need those. They need that extreme, dramatic situations, which is why they move on so quickly. They move on to the next high, because when we meet someone for the first time, it's a natural physical reaction for our body to be flooded with a hell of a lot of chemicals, and they love that. They're addicted to those feelings, but it doesn't last. It doesn't last in any normal relationship, because they're just temporary hormones. They're not meant to be long-term ones. They are just that initial woo buzz. But like I say, narcissists is addicted to that, which is why they'll bounce from relationship to relationship, because they want that high. They are drug addicts themselves. They are constantly seeking that emotional high and low. They just want to feel, because they equally have had a very troublesome childhood. And so, yeah, they will move on very quickly. They will find new supply so that they can have that. They can have those extreme highs, and then the lows that go with that. Then, like I say, they don't mind either. So, is there any more questions? I'm aware I've babbled on quite a long time there, so I apologise. I got on a train. I just went for it. So if you've got any more questions, please do come forward. This is a live Q&A, and I realise I've just monopolised the time. So do ask any questions that you have. Anything that you're struggling with. We've got about 10 minutes left. So yeah, ask away. If not, I will either keep babbling or I'll call it a day. Because I'm getting a really dry throat. This is really hard work talking for this length of time on my poor throat. But yeah, so for me, in summary, for me, surviving the holiday, surviving narcissists in general, but surviving the holiday periods, it is all around keeping yourself calm and thank you, I appreciate that. Keeping yourself calm and focused. Don't play the game. Don't get drawn into the drama. Try and stay focused on the bigger picture and what you really, really want to achieve. Stick to the court order yourself, because it doesn't really matter. And this is where I don't want to get caught up on the unfairness of it, because, you know, that's a rabbit hole, and I don't like to stay in negativity or anything. So I'm not going to go down that. But I am going to say that in terms of when you're in court, it is unfair because they don't see it. The professionals don't see it. And so they will expect you to jump through every hoop. They will expect you to follow the court order to the letter, and any slight breach you will be criticised for. And even though the narcissist might have done 20 breaches and you've done one, it can be that you're the one that gets criticised. And like I say, this is because they are very convincing. They are very they're very good actors. And like I say, it is like they have spread a little evil magic in the room and put everyone under a spell to see them as this wonderful, innocent person. And no matter what you present to the contrary, when someone's under that spell, you can't break through it. So you just kind of have to go for self-preservation. You know what? Self-preservation in the long run is what's going to save you anyway, and your children. Because by learning how to have faith, by learning how to be happy, by learning how to step away and not get involved in it, you're teaching your children some amazing life lessons that will help them to deal with this, because they're going to have the same problems as they grow up. So you are doing them a favour by teaching them this. And I know it can be really tempting to want to go back to court all the time, and I do get it, but I think where possible, try and manage it yourself in terms of, okay, bigger scheme of things, am I okay? Can I find any peace with this? Always do your best to try and find peace with any given situation. It will get you through some of the hardest times in your life if you can do that. Okay, so no more questions. I am going to call time because I'm getting a really, really sore throat, and I don't really want to lose my voice. But I appreciate you for being here. I appreciate you for watching. I appreciate you for asking questions. I appreciate you for engaging. And I truly apologise for all the technical difficulties. I will do this again, and I may just do it straight on my phone rather than trying to do it through an event, because it's hit and miss, to be fair. So yeah, if you'd like to do that, then let me know. If you are watching and you haven't subscribed to this channel, it'd be really appreciative if you could. I release videos every week on this kind of thing, parental alienation as well, just to raise awareness and to kind of share what's helped me, share the knowledge. So yeah, if you want to subscribe, if you haven't already, that'd be great. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Enjoy your weekends, and thank you for being here. Take care, everyone. Bye.